When Anna Winters died unexpectedly in a car accident, she thought her suffering was over. But waking up in a place she didn't recognize, surrounded by shadows of her past, Anna finds herself trapped in a liminal space between life and death. Now, she must confront the unresolved terror she left behind, or risk being consumed by it forever. Anna Winters always believed that when you died, you simply faded into nothingness. The thought of an afterlife seemed like an illusion to her, something concocted to comfort the living. She didn't have time for it. She had a life to live, a career to build, and a past she would rather forget. That was until the crash. It had been just another ordinary evening. Anna was driving home from a late meeting, the rain splattering against the windshield, the road slick with water. Her mind was distracted, tired from the pressures of work, her thoughts filled with stress. She didn't see the car swerving toward her. The collision happened so quickly there was no time for fear, only a sudden blinding impact. When Anna opened her eyes, she was no longer in the car. The world around her was dimly lit, like twilight, with no clear sense of day or night. The air was cold and still, heavy with an eerie silence. She was standing in the middle of a vast, empty street. The buildings on either side were broken and abandoned, their windows shattered. The road was cracked, littered with remnants of things long forgotten.
Where am I?
Anna whispered to herself, her voice trembling. There was no answer, only the distant echoes of footsteps, slow, deliberate, yet no one was in sight. Her heart pounded in her chest. She reached for her phone, but it wasn't there. She took a few hesitant steps forward, her breath coming in shallow gasps, the sense of dread settling deeper with each passing second. The street seemed endless, stretching on and on without any discernible end. Then she saw them. Figures appeared just at the edge of her vision, shadows moving between the buildings. At first they were indistinct like smoke, but as they grew closer, Anna saw that they were people. Faces she recognized, but altered somehow, twisted. There was her mother standing in front of her, but her eyes were hollow, dark. Her lips moved, but no sound escaped them.
Mom?
Anna's breath caught in her throat as she took a step back. Her mother reached out to her, but the moment their fingers nearly touched, her figure flickered and vanished into the darkness. Anna stumbled back in horror, but then another figure emerged. This time it was her best friend, Lily, standing tall in the distance. But something was wrong. Lily's expression was cold, distant, her eyes empty.
Lily!
Anna called out to her, but Lily didn't move. Instead, she stood staring, as if trapped in her own memories.
Lily!
Anna shouted, but the figure began to dissolve, vanishing into the mist that had started to fill the street. Panic rose in Anna's chest. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. She wasn't dead. She couldn't be. Suddenly a voice echoed from behind her, low and menacing.
You left us, Anna!
Anna spun around, her body trembling, heart racing. Standing behind her was a figure she hadn't expected. Her own reflection. But this version of herself was wrong. Her eyes were darker, filled with emptiness. Her face was gaunt, a thin line of blood dripping down her chin. Her reflection smiled, but there was no warmth in it.
What are you talking about?
Anna whispered, her voice breaking.
You didn't deserve to live.
The reflection hissed, her voice cold as ice.
You abandoned us all. You ran from your past, from your mistakes, from your fear.
Anna took a step back, her legs shaking.
I didn't mean to. I was just trying to survive.
The reflection's smile twisted.
Survival isn't enough, Anna. You can't run from what you've done. You can't escape the guilt you carry. It will follow you forever.
Suddenly, the ground beneath her feet cracked. The road split open, the darkness yawning wide beneath her. She tried to move, but her legs felt like lead, frozen in place.
The darkness. It's calling my name, pulling me down. There's no escape.
No matter how hard she tried, the terror of her past, her neglect, her broken relationships, her own fears, was coming for her. In a final attempt to flee, Anna ran, her breath ragged, but the darkness consumed her. It swirled around her, suffocating, pulling her deeper until she could no longer breathe. Just as the darkness was about to swallow her whole, a light flickered in the distance. It wasn't bright, but it was enough.
A light. I see a light.
Anna's heart surged with hope. She stumbled toward it, desperate, reaching out with trembling hands. The shadows screamed, clawing at her, but she kept pushing forward, driven by that single flickering light. The light grew stronger with each step until it enveloped her completely, and then nothing. Anna's eyes shot open. She was lying on the ground, not in the empty street, but in the grass, the sky above her clear. The sound of birds filled her ears.
Am I dreaming?
For a moment, she thought she was dreaming, but then the cold realization hit her. She was alive, but something had changed. The terror that had gripped her wasn't gone. It lingered, deep within her chest, like a wound that hadn't fully healed.
Death wasn't the escape I imagined. The past, it's still with me, lurking in the shadows of my soul.
Was Anna truly alive, or had she merely been dragged back from the edge of something far worse? As the memories of the dark place slowly seeped into her waking thoughts, Anna realized one terrifying truth. The horrors of the past never truly let go. They waited, patiently, silently, for the moment when she'd slip again. And no matter where she ran, she would always be haunted by the veil between life and the things she could never escape.